Jazz Fluency 5, based on the solo section to Lucretia by Megadeth. Okay, not so fast. That is a lesson for the students of systems for creation, okay? But we can talk about these Bach inventions, okay? So let's get into it. What's a Bach invention? It's a short piece that consists of 2 or more independent lines, okay? And those lines are harmonically correlated, but they're independent in rhythm and contour. So you can literally explain pretty much every rock song ever written in that framework. So let's look at Lucretia, because that was this week's jazz fluency lesson in the school. Yeah, dude, that first half, oh, good. All right, let's go to the second half here. So Lucretia's solo section, right? That Marty Friedman solo, which is the good old 1, flat 7, flat 6, 4 minor to 5 progression. Almost too classic, right? But Dave Mustaine doesn't care, dude. He loves too classic. That's his favorite. And he actually does a lot with this, right? With that Marty Friedman solo and the way that he's articulating the harmony of that progression in the bass, right? I'm kind of assuming Dave Mustaine maybe wrote that bass part, or maybe Dave Ellefson wrote the bass part, I don't know, but I think Dave Mustaine probably wrote it. So in the framework of the Bach invention, you could literally just think of this bass line as, okay, that's just the lower line that's moving in this way, right? So what's it moving like? Classic Dave Mustaine, I love the way that he writes, but here's the difference between Dave Mustaine and Bach. Is Dave Mustaine will do parallel structures all day long, but Bach, right, you know what I'm going to say, he's doing the voice leading, right? That's the major difference, and honestly, it's just a stylistic nuance really at the end of the day. Rock's kind of got that parallel structure vibe going on versus that voice leading thing that we keep talking about. That's more of like a jazz principle, but here's where they intersect. They intersect in the lead aspect, right? The solos, these kinds of things. Rock solos, like think about Marty Friedman, dude. Try to tell me that Marty Friedman isn't a jazz musician. To be fair, he's the old kind of jazz musician who doesn't know anything about theory, but he's a jazz musician nonetheless. And that's mainly because his solos just perfectly, masterfully outline progressions, and he uses voice leading. He uses all the tricks in melody, like his ears connect to that. So this module, which was inspired by Michael, dude, Michael was like, dude, let's check out Lucretia. It's like, okay, let's make a study on Lucretia. This was just about navigating the changes for Lucretia that Michael wanted to understand, like get deeper into the fundamentals of music, right? And you can tell this is like a study as opposed to like a solo performance you might put on a recording. You know, there's a difference. What makes it a study is how we're basically playing every subdivision. I would say that's the defining feature of making a study, right? So the jazz fluency courses are just me showing you how to make these studies and also just how to craft language essentially, right? But doing it in that systematic, like every subdivision sort of logic, because the idea is you're literally like carving out tunnels through harmony. That's what these are. It's like, look at this new path to navigate through this sequence of harmony, right? The goal of the jazz fluency program is very, very simple. It's really just to show you all the opportunity of melody through harmony. And we're kind of incorporating frameworks like we always do, right? That's kind of the systems for creation sort of philosophy, is incorporate the frameworks, right? Meshuggah gives us that really obvious framework, and we see the T-high frameworks as well. We also see these more subtle harmonic frameworks from people like Dave Mustaine, Marty Friedman. I wouldn't say Bach has a subtle framework. It's literally called an invention, but like, think about the implications of the invention. Like I said earlier, like every rock song ever written can pretty much be explained as a Bach invention. But what's really interesting is how the Bach invention framework differs from jazz. The Bach invention framework is actually a little bit more free in terms of harmonic juxtaposition, okay? That's because you're not really looking at chords okay? Like you are in jazz, you know, where the chord changes A flat major 7 sharp 11 for 4 beats, right? It's like, okay, that's what the chord changes. You pretty much have to play by the rules of chord changes. All the notes that you play have to specifically resonate with those chord tones. So that's actually pretty limiting, right? Versus the Bach invention approach is more just like contrapuntal lines, basic counterpoint. So there's actually a lot more wiggle room to explore harmonically. And that does oddly parallel the whole Coltrane thing, right? Where the triads allow you to use that Coltrane substitution superimposition framework because of their clarity, right? So you get some less traditional sounding intervals as a result of the clarity afforded by the triads. So in Bach's invention framework, the case is just that because maybe you only have 2 lines, sometimes 3 or 4 lines, you're dealing with 4 at most. Well, guess what? That allows you to explore some non-traditional harmony, right? And the irony would be, isn't Bach like the most traditional person ever? But when you consider the Bach invention framework, well, you start to see that maybe tradition isn't what you think it is. And that's a bigger conversation about music theory at large. So jazz fluency is pretty much that whole thing. That's that whole conversation, right? It's just about unlocking harmonic, melodic awareness, right? And then having that foundation in harmony to then integrate with the rhythmic frameworks. I've shown you very clearly over and over again in videos on this channel how seamlessly all of these musical frameworks intersect, right? There's nothing that doesn't work, right? The Meshuggah framework works through bebop tunes, works through jazz standards. You can apply the Bach invention framework to the Meshuggah framework in the most exact kind of way. And obviously you can apply the Bach invention framework to jazz standards because you can just write 2-line or 3-line or 4-line counterpoint through jazz standards, right? So this is like, okay, systems for creation, dude. And it's like cards on the table. It's like this thing's gonna grow to obscene numbers and you know it. All you need to do, son, is message me on Instagram. Now I'm giving you a chance to get in it for lifetime access. I'm literally gonna keep posting lessons every single freaking week. And the thing is, those lessons are based on the needs of my students, okay? So these are powerful lessons that are crafted in service to musical awareness expansion. So this is how you get all the way in, right, to the jazz fluency, because that's what it's all about. You want to know chords, you want to know leads, you want to know how to construct harmonic form, rhythmic form. Systems for creation is where all of that is being taught, right? And it's the only place on the internet that's doing exactly what it is, which obviously, but the fact is, you know it's gonna grow monstrously. You already know that. You've already seen it grow, okay? And it's gonna hit the turbo booster this summer because of actions I'm specifically taking actively, right? So this is kind of like, get in before all that stuff happens, okay? This is your chance. I'm definitely gonna be raising the price again in like 2 seconds. So I'll see you on Instagram and then I'll see you in the school.